Hello, my name is Sarah from CasaEducation Agency. We are a study abroad agency. One of our partners is University of Hertfordshire. So today we will invite Tom from University of Hertfordshire to tell us more about the university, its location, programs available, entry requirements for Moroccan students, and also how to apply, how to get a scholarship, accommodation, activities students can do while studying at the university, where they can work, how many hours they can work, what they can do, like whenever they have free time, and also once they arrive to the UK, what are the things they should do before starting the program, like collecting their BRPs, opening a bank account, and a lot of things.
Hello to all of the students I can see joining. Looks like we've got a really good turnout at the moment, so glad to have you all here. If you've got any questions about the university, feel free to pop them in the comments section of this chat, and between myself and Sarah, we can go through those. Just a little bit about me. I was a student at this university before I started working there, so I did an undergraduate in creative arts. And now I've been working within the international office for the past 4 years. So anything from student life all the way through to the admissions process at our particular university, I should be able to answer most, if not all, questions that you might have for us at the university. Just before I start, Sarah, is this the right account that I'm on? Is it not the University of Hertfordshire International account?
It's the University of Hertfordshire International account.
It is perfect, not a problem. So yeah, so as I'll go through a few brief bits of information about the university for any of you students that aren't too familiar with us. So we're based just outside North London. So in the southeast of England, there's sort of an area around London, sort of outside of the city, that's a green area of the UK. It's known as the Green Belt, and we're based in there. So what you get by coming to Hertfordshire is really the best of both worlds. You've got a nice, or two big, nice open green campuses based out in Hertfordshire. You've got plenty of towns and cities surrounding the town that we're in, Hatfield, and a bit more of a say a relaxed lifestyle compared to, say, London, for example. But at the same time, from our local train station, we are only 20 minutes by train into King's Cross, or 25 minutes, sorry, minutes into King's Cross. So it's super easy to get into London, be it for days out or internships, work experience, all of that kind of stuff. Whilst being able to live out in Hertfordshire, which is a bit more relaxed, a bit more rural, a bit cheaper to live in as well. So you've not got those London, the London cost of living.
Yes.
So
sometimes people can spend more than 30 minutes traveling from a place to another in London.
yeah, exactly. That's without naming any names. I sometimes tell students it takes longer for certain London universities to get into central London than it does for the University of Hertfordshire, which is quite ironic. But that's London transport, I suppose. But yeah, the train links that we have to London also help with students when they're coming to the university. You know, if they don't want to get a taxi directly to the university, or they, for whatever reason, aren't able to make use of the airport pickup services that we offer at certain points of the year, it is literally just one underground line from Heathrow into King's Cross, and then straight up from King's Cross to the university. So it's super easy to get around in terms of the wider UK and international travel, as well as just sort of what's available in the local area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have to speak about the programs available by the university. So basically you have undergraduate and also postgrad programs.
Yeah,
right?
That's correct. Yeah. So we've got 9 different schools of study that are spread across 2 different campuses. So the College Lane campus, which is our bigger of the 2 campuses, that's the campus that hosts are more practical courses. So over there, you've got things like creative arts, which is obviously where I studied, so big advocate for that. You've got creative arts, you've got life and medical sciences, health and social work, engineering, computer science, and also the School of Physics, Astronomy and Mathematics. And then over on the other campus, which is just a mile down the road, it's about a 20-minute walk. You've got more of the classroom-based subjects based on that campus. So over there, you've got things like the business school, Hertfordshire Business School, Hertfordshire Law School, the School of Education, and the School of Humanities as well. So that obviously means that that campus is a lot smaller. If you can find an aerial shot on our website of that campus, about half of the campus is made up purely of the accommodation that's available there. And then there's the other two buildings for learning, which are the sort of one's got all of the classrooms in, then the other one's one of our 24-hour libraries. The really good thing about that campus, even though it's a smaller campus, it's got loads more sports facilities. So over there is where you've got all of our football pitches, all of our 3G pitches, which are used for all sorts of sports like rugby, American football, lacrosse. And then you've got the
need to pay for those sports?
So it depends actually. So there's various different levels of sport that's offered at the university. So if a student's looking to go to the gym, for example, the gym does cost like a regular gym membership would. Students do get a discounted price compared to the public for that gym membership. And there's different tiers of gym membership as well, depending on things like which facilities you actually want to use, what times you want to be going to the gym, and that kind of thing. So that's one cost that students may need to consider. In terms of the actual sport, in terms of things like sports teams, we've got everything from the competitive level. So things like the athletics union sports teams, which would go and compete against other universities. That generally does incur an annual membership fee. I'm not sure what that fee was.
Which is approximately?
Approximately, when I was at university, it ranged between £90 and £100, depending on the sport. I don't know if that might have changed slightly since I was part of those sports teams, but it will probably be around there, around £90 to £100. Some of those may incur other costs in terms of the equipment, like, for example, I don't know, one of like the rowing teams, for example, I don't know if they provide you with everything or whether you might need to get some of your wetsuit stuff and things like that. So there may be other sort of equipment costs that come into it, but that £90 or £100, however much it is, that covers usually all of like your sports travel. So when you go and play against other universities, you get like an athletics union hoodie, the sort of big pieces of equipment, I guess, as well, that may be a bit obscure. I think there's access to things like lacrosse bats or nets, whatever they're called, things like that. And obviously access to all of the facilities as part of your sports training as well. So, I mean, I think ultimately for sort of £90 to £100, it's pretty good value for money.
Yeah.
And then as well, you know, if you're only looking to do sort of casual sports, we've got this thing called Active Students. So students will be able to see on like the student hub online, there'll be a timetable that changes semesterly, where students have access to a load of different sports activities that are run by active staff members. So they, you know, it'll be everything from five-a-side through to yoga, table tennis, roller skating, just any sort of sport. Some of them are just your normal, you know, football, that kind of stuff. Others might be a bit random. You generally have to book up, like sign up online just to say you're going, to maintain the numbers. But I mean, when I was there would be times we'd be walking past and we'd see like everyone roller skating or something. It'd be like, oh, that'd be a laugh, have a go at that. And you walk in, and if there's space, you can join. And that, all of that sort of stuff's totally free for students.
And do you think students will be able to go and do those and practice those sports in the next intake in September?
To be honest, it's difficult to talk about this coming September, obviously, because coronavirus has been so fast moving. Things have changed so quickly and so often. at the moment they have been running like a home program, so I suppose it's more for things like, I think they'll get like virtual yoga, things like that, things that can be done from home. So there are certain things still available to students through the active students and active staff programs. But come September, it is, you know, with a little asterisk, anything we say, I suppose. But I think personally, me and the team in the international office, we're fairly confident that a lot of things will be back to normal. Certainly at the moment, as lockdown's easing in the UK, gyms are opening. Outdoor exercise has been open for about a month or so. And so in that regard, assuming things were like they are now in September, under those grounds, a lot of the outdoors activities that are run through active students would be able to go ahead, which would be really, really good. And in terms of sort of the wider, yeah, fingers crossed, in terms of the wider learning, again, it kind of comes with a bit of an asterisk. We don't know what things will look like in September. That's quite far away at the moment in terms of Corona, at least. But the UK government anticipates that every adult in the UK will have been offered the vaccine come the end of July. So I think
for international students as
well.
That, even international students will benefit from the vaccine.
I don't know. There's been no communication about whether international students are being offered part of the vaccine. The only indication that we've been given is that all adults sort of based in the UK will be offered it. So I'm not actually sure whether that comes as a part of the students' the surcharge they pay. I don't know whether that would cover it. That's just, I'm afraid, not information that we've been provided with just yet. But I think what I'm trying to get across is the more people that are obviously vaccinated in the UK, the more comfortable the government is becoming at opening things back up again. And even for people that aren't vaccinated, like myself, like I'm in my 20s, I'm not at high risk or anything like that. So I'm at like the bottom of the pecking order to get my vaccine. But there's still really good ways that the government's helping people stay safe. So you can get free rapid flow tests from the government, which I've actually got an example of here. So you order these through the government website and they send you a box of 7 tests. You do one test every 3 to 4 days. You submit that to the NHS.
By post?
Yeah. So I ordered this on Monday, and I ordered it Monday about 3 p.m. in the afternoon, 4 p.m., something like that. It came before 9 a.m. the following day. So super easy. So students would have access to this, or at least they do at the moment for students that are here. Obviously, things may change come September. And the university also offers those tests on campus for students. So, to save students, going out of their way to do it all themselves, they can make use of the testing facility on campus, which at the moment, any students and staff that are working on campus or have to be on campus for practical courses or for work, they're expected to go and get tested again 2 or 3 times a week through our testing facility, which uses the exact same tests, and you get your results within about 30 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. So coming back to the programs offered by the university, so what are the entry requirements for Moroccan baccalaureate students interested to apply for any undergrad program?
So for Moroccan Bac, we're actually reviewing the Moroccan Bac requirements at the moment. So we're waiting for this to be signed off. But what we're looking at is, and what we've suggested is students to be gaining somewhere between 14 course dependent, somewhere between 14 to 16 out of 20 in the Moroccan Bac. So this adjustment's being made in accordance to what we've seen from other universities. So fingers crossed that all goes ahead.
Test?
yeah, fingers crossed everything goes through with that, then that would be absolutely fine. In regards to English language, we do accept a huge variety of different English language tests. Obviously, it's not, I don't know what the IELTS centres are like in Morocco at the moment. I don't know if they're available to students.
No, they are available. We have IELTS Academic and IELTS UKVI Academic as well. Both
Okay, yeah.
paper-based and computer-based.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So obviously IELTS is the sort of major one, but we do accept other English language qualifications as well. There's a full list of those on our website.
TOEFL.
Yeah, TOEFL, things like the Pearson's Versant test as well. A lot of ones that have sort of come about as a result of the coronavirus, more online based ones.
Okay. And for IELTS, what's the score that you request?
So it does sometimes vary from course to course, but the average requirement for undergraduate is a 6.0 with no less than 5.5 in any band, and for postgraduate 6.5 with no less than 6 in any band. But what I'd suggest is students do just double check on the course webpage, as that will give detailed answers on the bands that you need for IELTS or other English language tests, as they can generally, with more healthcare and science and medical courses, they may sometimes require higher IELTS than the sort of standard ones.
Yeah, what if they don't meet the entry requirements in terms of, for example, Moroccan Baccalaureate or IELTS or equivalent?
If entry requirements aren't met for the Moroccan BAC, then it would be likely that the student would be offered a foundation. So the foundation that we offer at the university is based on campus. It's run through an education company named Navitas. Students may have heard of them. They're very well known, work with a lot of universities. So they're based literally dead in the middle of our College Lane campus. So students, they would get the full university experience whilst doing their foundation. They'd have access to all of the student facilities, the libraries, the accommodation, the sports facilities, everything like that, all whilst being a foundation student. So you get the wonderful experience of Hertfordshire for an extra year. That's the way I like to see it. In terms of the English, if students don't meet the English requirements, there's a few different options available. So say a student needs a 6 in their IELTS and they got a 5. In that instance, we'd probably recommend they do a pre-sessional English course. So this year, our pre-sessional English courses are again going to be online like they were last year due to COVID. And those are run again through the Hertfordshire International College, which is our foundation college. But
how it will work, because if they are, for example, applying for September intake and they have to do this pre-sessional in English, so when will they start the bachelor program?
So the pre-sessional English program would start, I think, in either June or July. So they're
by the time they might not have their baccalaureate results.
Okay, in which case we do have other options available in terms of English language testing. So this is generally for students that don't miss out by much. We can't offer these to students that miss out on, say, a whole IELTS point. But say, for example, there's a student who has missed out on an overall score by just 0.5, or they've got the overall score and missed out on a couple of bands by 0.5 or something like that. Then the student can actually do an online English language test free of charge through our international office. So for any students listening, the best thing to do for that and to organise that would be to go through Sarah. She can get in touch with me and to organise that for you as a student. It's an online test. It tests students in similar bands the way an IELTS would in the 4 different bands, provides an overall score, which we then equate through a table of results to where that equates to in terms of an IELTS test, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if time's running out and the student looks like they could still, they may have been exceptional circumstances, which is why they missed out on their IELTS, that's available for students as well that are short on time.
Okay, so how to apply?
So obviously the best thing to do in terms of applying is going through CasaEducation.
Thank you.
They've got, you testing me there?
Live.
So obviously CasaEducation, they'll be able to support you every step of the way. So they've got access to me, sort of direct access to me. So if anything's taking slightly too long, you know, if there's a slightly longer wait on your application than is normal, or if you're in a rush for a sponsorship or something like that, then coming through CasaEducation really is the best bet, because they've got that direct access to me. They'll be able to support you with all of the documents that you need.
What are the documents? Mentioning the documents. What are the documents students need to start an application?
You're back. Oh, sorry, I'm back. Sorry, my
So I was saying, what are the documents students need? So I was saying, what are the documents basically students need to start an application?
Yeah, so the basic documents that students would need would be the academic transcripts and certificates, if you have them. If you don't have all of those just yet, submit what you have. A copy of your passport photo page.
They should be translated to English.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. If they're in Arabic or French, then we would need the originals and a translation. So yeah, it's passport photo page. Same with English language documents. We would need a copy of your English language qualification. If it's not in English, we would need that translated as well. We need a personal statement. Now with our personal statement, we look for 4 main points within that statement. And that is why you're studying at the university, or why you wish to study, sorry, at the University of Hertfordshire, why you wish to study in the UK, why you think this course is right for you, and what your career ambitions are and how this course supports that. If you make sure you hit all of those points, you'll write a flawless personal statement that will have no requests for reviews or anything like that.
Approximately how many words? Because I receive like personal statements with 200 words and also others with 2,000 words.
Yeah. So I usually recommend somewhere between, for each of those 4 points, I think 150 to 200 words is a good amount. We don't want them to be too long, because obviously our team has to go through a lot of these, but 200 words in each section, or you know, 600 to 800 overall is a good amount. So yeah, 200 to 150 per section. We need references. So the number of references, I think, did change during the coronavirus. I'm not sure if they still need just the 1 reference or whether they may need 2. I think it's 2 for postgraduate now and 1 for undergraduate academic references. If you're a postgraduate student who's gone away and you've been working, for example, so you've gone away and worked for like 10 years and you want to come back to pursue further study to support your career, in that instance, we would be able to accept 1 professional and 1 academic reference. What have I gone through? Passport, academic, English, references, personal. I think they're the main staples of what we'd need.
So that's it, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're the main staples.
Okay,
of
so
what
once
we need
they apply, then after a couple of days or weeks, they can receive an offer, which is in general a conditional offer, if they still did not finish their baccalaureate. And also in the conditions, it's also mentioned that they have to pay a deposit. When is it the right time to make the initial payment?
So we do, if students are sure they want to join us at the university, we encourage paying your deposit sooner rather than later. Deposit deadlines are usually announced later in the year. They'll usually be around the late July or early August as a deadline for deposits. If there are, like last year, some exceptional circumstances, deposit deadlines may be extended in certain situations, but I wouldn't rely on that. I would recommend students pay as soon as they can. And again, those deadlines usually come around the end of July to the start of August. So that's something to bear in mind. That deposit amount as well is £5,000, which is automatically sort of considered part of your part of the fees of your course. Yeah.
Okay, so once they pay the deposit and after like finishing their, let's say, high school and they clear all the conditions, how can they obtain the CAS to start the visa application?
Yeah, so I mean, before that, I would recommend students apply for accommodation. Again, if they're sure they'll be studying with us,
Any
accommodation.
deadline for accommodation?
To be honest, the deadline is just when the accommodation's full up. To be honest, there's no sort of cut-off point. They book rooms until they're full up. We do have somewhere between, I think, 4,000 to 4,500 rooms on campus, and we do our best to give priority to either new students and or international students. But obviously, if a very late application's been made, we can't always guarantee accommodation. But there are plenty of accommodation options on campus to support all financial needs.
How much approximately is the accommodation on campus?
So again, it varies from the different accommodations, but they range from roughly £120 per week to £160 per week for your standard like one person to a bedroom rooms. You can get like twin rooms, which are £90 or so, £90 to £100 per week. So significantly cheaper, but you would obviously be sharing your space with someone else.
Yeah.
And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got studio flats, which are, just sort of one person rooms that have got access to all your cooking facilities. It's just for you.
Okay. And can they confirm their accommodation before paying the deposit?
No, deposit payment has to be made first. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so paying the tuition fee deposit, then students are able to apply for their accommodation. After that,
and do they need to pay something while applying for accommodation? Any deposit?
There's a deposit. I think it's £150.
Okay.
So a small deposit in the at least compared to the tuition fee deposit. But yeah, it's about £150 the deposit for accommodation.
Okay, so let's say, for example, they have booked their accommodation, cleared all the conditions, paid the deposit. So anything they need to do before requesting the CAS?
Yeah, so our team will assess each student and decide whether they would require sponsorship interviews and financial checks. In this instance, if you're a student that requires sponsorship interview and a financial check, those usually start around this time of year. They've just started in April this year. And that's the opportunity for our staff to, I suppose it's sort of an informal, formal interview, if that makes sense. It's not, something that gets passed on to UKVI or anything like that, but it's an interview that's done to ensure that if you were interviewed by UKVI in regards to applying for your visa or anything like that, that you would be able to pass that interview and make sure that you ticked all the boxes. So,
but in Morocco, there is no interview. Like they don't interview students by applying for the visa.
Okay, in that instance, then there's nothing to worry about in that sense. Our team may still decide that they might want to do spot check interviews on certain students anyway. So if you are selected, if you would be obviously contacted by our team, and in which instance it's worth just ensuring that your knowledge is up to date on the course, the university, what your ambitions are, basically all of the points that you covered in your personal statement and that we recommend you cover in your personal statement are the sort of question areas that we would be asking as a part of that interview.
Okay, so let's say students have applied for the visa, they got their visa, it's time for them to go to the UK. So you have mentioned earlier that you can welcome, not yourself, but there is a dedicated team that can welcome students at the airport in normal time, not in the COVID pandemic situation.
So we do have a student pickup service, again, like you said, in normal times. So we book, or students rather, are able to book this service through the international section of the website. And it would be a coach service from Heathrow to the university directly. The service does get booked up quite quickly. So
is it a free service?
Yeah, it's a free service. So we really would recommend students booking onto that as soon as possible if that's something they'd like to take advantage of. You know, they usually have, from my recollection, sort of big banners sort of signposting people in the right direction. So there'd be very slim chance of getting lost. You just have to sort of input when your flight's coming in, that sort of, all of that kind of stuff, so we know where you are, when you'll be, and we'll organise the rest, and you'll of course be given all of the relevant information in due course. And then you'd be driven up to the university, up to the relevant campuses. Before your course starts, international students are invited to undertake the International Orientation Week. Obviously, in normal times, this is a selection of in-person events designed to sort of help international students meet new people, make new friends, and just become acquainted with life in the UK. This has been done this past year online rather than face-to-face for obvious reasons, but hopefully in the next intake we'll be able to do something face-to-face once more.
Yeah, and do you also help students collect their BRPs, open bank account, register at the police?
Yeah, so we actually have one of the most popular banks for students based on our campus. It's a Santander bank. So opening up a bank account is super easy because the bank's literally there on campus for students. Similarly with the police station, there's a police station not on the campus with the bank account. The other campus is just around the corner from our local police station. So everything's in super close proximity in terms of all of the sort of official formal things you need to sign up on. What was the first thing you mentioned? Sorry, I forgot.
BRP.
BRP, that's it. So BRP collection can be done on campus as well, though in the current circumstances where the university's been closed over the past year, or at least a lot of the on-campus facilities have been closed, students, I think, in some instances have had to pick them up off campus at a local post office, but usually students can pick those up on campus. Okay.
So I know that students are allowed to work up to 20 hours during the course time and up to 40 hours during holidays, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So in the local area in Hatfield, there's loads of job opportunities available. Loads of my friends undertook part-time work whilst they're at university when I was studying here. I was quite lucky. I just worked my socks off in the summertime so that I didn't have to work while I was at university. But lots of my friends had jobs either in the local shopping mall, on campus doing various things, either at the student cafes or student pubs, the supermarkets. If you're
so is it easy for international students to find a job?
So I mean, ultimately, in terms of applying, yes, we're not going to apply to jobs for you, but we do have careers teams, careers offices on both of our campuses who have a huge directory of part-time jobs, internships, work experience, graduate jobs. So we've got all the facilities to support students in finding all of those different things, part-time work, graduate work. And so students have access to that, not just while they're at university, but also for a few years after university as well, which is a really good feature of our university.
Yeah, some of the programs offered by the university include placement. So does the university help students find this placement, or do they have to look for it by themselves?
Yeah. So we've got both undergraduate and postgraduate courses that offer placement opportunities for students. So particularly the postgraduate one is quite a unique one. Not every UK university offers postgraduate placement opportunities. Again, that's something that the careers team would be able to help students with, and also the schools of study. With placements, this is another thing where our location really benefits us as a university, because students don't only have all of the opportunities that there are in Hertfordshire, but they've also got obviously access to London being so close. So obviously a huge financial hub, and a huge business hub as a whole. And then in the local area, if there's any scientists on the stream, today we've got massive pharmaceutical companies like GlaxoSmithKline have at least 2 massive facilities in Hertfordshire. If there's any students into aerospace,
yes.
or any students into
aerospace,
or other generic engineering, we've got based up in a town called Stevenage, there's Airbus UK. So they helped develop the Mars rover that got sent to Mars and was roaming around Mars. There's also a missiles facility based in that same town. So yeah, there's some really cool places in the local area that students would be able to look for internships with. And obviously they're very happy to support local students as well.
Exactly. So any scholarships for Moroccan students for applying for September intake?
Okay, so we do have scholarships and discounts available for students this year. The best way for Moroccan students to guarantee some discounts as a part of their fees is, assuming they're eligible, only certain courses are eligible, is most courses, but is to make use of the early bird discount scheme. So if you're studying a course that has standard fees, so you'll be able to see if a course has standard fees on the individual web pages, then you'll be eligible to make use of the early bird discount. If you pay your deposit before the end of July, you'll be eligible as part of that scheme for a £1,000 discount, and that's guaranteed. On top of that, students will be able to make the most, if possible, of their full payment discount as well. So that is, if you pay your full year of fees up front, you'd be eligible for a further £500 discount. So that's the best way to guarantee a discount, to be honest. So it's a guarantee of £1,500 off of your tuition fees. Outside of that, there are some scholarships available that are sort of merit based, which will be sort of advertised by the university throughout the year. To be perfectly honest, most of those scholarships would probably be somewhere between £1,000 to £2,000 in themselves. There are the odd scholarships that range all the way up to £4,000, but it's more likely that the scholarships we offer out would be somewhere between £1,000 and £2,000. So by securing the early bird discount and the full payment discount, if possible, that's a way of securing that sort of guaranteed. Whereas the scholarships, there's no guarantee that students would be offered those.
Okay, but in case students are eligible to get the scholarship, will it be applied for the 3 years of the bachelor or just for the first year, for example?
It would be applied. It's all of our scholarships and discounts are just for their first year of studies.
Okay. And how many intakes that the university has?
So we have 2 intakes. So we've got a September and a January intake. And the January intake isn't for every course, unfortunately. We would love it to be for every course, but I think the admissions team may all walk out if it was. And so, yeah, the best way to look and see if your course is eligible for a January entry is, again, looking on the individual course webpage. If you scroll to the bottom, there's a little drop-down section about applying and application dates. Don't use those application forms because they're for UK students. We've got a special international section for international students, but on those that section it will say the entry dates for the course, and you'll obviously be able to see if there's a just a September 21 or if there's a January 2022 as well.
Okay, so I know that there is a new rule for students starting from September 2020, which is the post-study work visa. Can you tell us more about the post-study work visa?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a reincarnation of the old post-study work visa from I think from about 10 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And so this particular visa is called the graduate route visa, or the graduate route. And it's got the similar, I don't know if it's identical, but it's certainly got similar benefits to what the post-study work visa had. So if students apply for that, they'll have access, or apply and are accepted, I should add. Students will have access to staying in the UK and full access to the labour market and working for up to 2 years after graduating. And that's something that's available for both postgraduate and undergraduate students. So if you're a student that decides to undertake a placement as well, say on one of our postgraduate courses, and then you do the post-study work after that, you could work in the UK for a total of 3 years while studying for 1 year.
Okay, that's very interesting, and I'm sure it will encourage students to think about studying in the UK rather than other countries.
Definitely.
Well, thank you, Tom, for answering all the questions. And
Not
hope
a problem.
to speak to you very soon.
Not a problem. It's been a pleasure joining you. And if any students have any further questions, then get in touch with CasaEducation, and they'll be able to answer anything application-wise or university-wise. And if you wanted to, even arranging a one-to-one chat with myself. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I hope you all have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.